Captain Hyunwoo Kim stood in the center of the massive crystal chamber. The wall stretched up so high he could barely see the top. Around him, 12 different alien species sat in floating chairs that glowed with soft light. These were the rulers of the galaxy, and they were here to decide if humans could stay. Hyunwoo had been Earth's ambassador for 10 years. He knew these aliens well. The tall, thin Altarians with their silver skin. The rock-like Viridians who looked like walking crystals. The plant people called Florians with their green, leafy bodies. All of them had once called humans their friends. Today felt different. The air was thick with tension. No one looked at him directly. When he walked into the chamber an hour ago, the usual friendly greetings were missing. Instead, there were whispers and cold stares. The council will now hear the charges against the human species, announced Zelt Prime, the lead Altarian. His voice echoed through the chamber like metal scraping stone. Dr. So Young Park stepped forward. She was Earth's best scientist and had worked with aliens for 20 years. Her face was calm, but Hyunwoo could see the worry in her eyes. She carried a datapad with all their evidence. Honored Council, she began. Humans have been loyal members of this Federation for 50 years. We have shared our medical knowledge. We saved the Florian people from the Red Death Plague. We built trade routes that connect 40 star systems. We have never broken galactic law. A Viridian counselor, his crystal body flashing red, interrupted her. You speak of law, but what of the mercenary incident in the Outer Rim? Human soldiers killed 300 beings in one battle. Those were not official Earth forces, Hyunwoo said quickly. They were criminals who broke our laws too. We hunted them down and brought them to justice. But they were still human, said a Florian counselor. Her voice sounded like wind through leaves, but there was anger in it. Your species is too violent, too quick to fight, too dangerous. Dr. Park held up her data pad. Our crime rates are lower than most galactic species. Our soldiers have the best discipline records in the Federation. We have prevented more wars than we have fought. That is exactly the problem, Zelt Prime said. You are too good at war. Your military tactics are too advanced. Your weapons too deadly. When humans fight, they win too easily. This makes others afraid. Hyunwoo felt anger rise in his chest, but he kept his voice steady. You want us to be weak? You want us to lose battles? We want you to be less human, said another Altarian. Your emotions are too strong. Your reactions too fast. You adapt too quickly to new situations. This makes you unpredictable. Up in space, aboard the Earth ship called Determination, Admiral Dongmin Lee watched the trial through a video link. He was a hard man with gray hair and scars from old battles. Next to him stood Jin Ho Choi, a young communications officer with worried eyes. Sir, this doesn't look good, Jin Ho said quietly. Admiral Lee nodded. I know. Send a coded message to all Earth colonies and ships. Tell them to prepare for emergency evacuation. Use Code Black. Jin Ho's eyes went wide. Code Black meant total evacuation. It meant leaving everything behind. Sir, are you sure? Look at their faces, boy. They've already decided. This trial is just for show. Back in the chamber, the voting had begun. One by one, each species announced their decision. The Altarians voted first. The Altarian Empire votes to exile humanity from the Galactic Federation, Zelt Prime said. His words hit Hyunwoo like a physical blow. The Viridians voted next. Exile, their leader said simply. Then the Florians. Hyunwoo had saved their entire species, and they said, exile. Each vote felt like a knife in his back. Species that humans had helped, traded with, saved from disasters. All of them turned their backs on Earth. Dr. Park's hands shook as she held her datapad. All their evidence, all their achievements, all their good deeds meant nothing now. The final count was announced. 47 votes for exile, 23 against, 15 abstentions. It wasn't even close. The human species is hereby exiled from the Galactic Federation, Zelt Prime declared. You have 30 days to remove all human presence from Federation space. Any humans found after that time will be considered criminals. Hyunwoo straightened his shoulders. He looked around the chamber at all the aliens who had just thrown away 50 years of friendship. When he spoke, his voice was calm and clear. Very well. We understand your decision. But remember this day, Council. Remember that you chose fear over friendship. You chose weakness over strength. History will judge you for this. Are you threatening us? Viridian asked, his crystal body flashing angry red. No, Hyunwoo said. I'm just telling you the truth. You think humans are too dangerous to be your friends. Maybe you're right. Maybe you should be afraid. He turned and walked out of the chamber. Dr. Park followed him, her head held high despite the tears in her eyes. On the determination, Admiral Lee received word of the vote. He immediately activated the ship's communication systems. Jinho helped him send messages to every human world, every colony, every ship in space. All human forces, this is Admiral Lee. The Council has voted for our exile. Operation Exodus begins now. All civilians are to be evacuated within 72 hours. All military vessels will provide escort. Take everything you can carry. Leave nothing useful behind. The response was immediate. From hundreds of worlds, the reply came back. Understood, Admiral. Beginning evacuation now. Dr. So-Young Park sat in her small cabin on the transport ship, taking her away from Nexus Prime. She looked out the window at the alien city shrinking below. 50 years of her life had been spent building bridges between species. Now those bridges were burning. Captain Hyunwoo Kim sat beside her. It's not your fault, So-Young, we did everything right. Then why do I feel like we failed, she asked. Because they made us believe their approval mattered, he said. But maybe it's time we stopped caring what they think. Back on the Council, Chambers, the aliens congratulated themselves. They had removed the dangerous humans from their peaceful galaxy. Now they could go back to their quiet, safe lives. Zelt Prime looked at the empty space where the human ambassadors had stood. For a moment he felt something that might have been regret. Humans had been useful allies, but they had also been unsettling. Too different. Too unpredictable. It's for the best, he told himself. The galaxy will be safer now. 3 days later, long-range sensors detected something impossible. Every human colony was empty. Every human ship had vanished. Entire cities had been taken apart and moved. It was as if 50 billion humans had simply disappeared. How is this possible? Demanded a Florian counselor. Where did they go? The sensor technician, a nervous Altarian, checked his readings. Again. I don't know, sir. They're just gone. All of them. There's nothing left but empty space. For the first time since the vote, the council members felt a chill of fear. They had exiled the humans, but they had expected them to leave slowly, sadly begging for mercy. Instead, the humans had vanished like ghosts, taking everything with them. In the darkness between the stars, Admiral Lee stood on the bridge of his flagship. Around him, 1,000 ships carried the entire human race into the unknown. They had left the galaxy behind, but they were not defeated. Set course for the void, he ordered. It's time to build something new. Admiral Dongmin Lee stood on the observation deck of the massive ship called New Hope. Through the thick glass, he could see thousands of other ships floating in the darkness. Each one carried pieces of human civilization. Families, factories, farms, schools, everything that had once made humans part of the galaxy. The evacuation had taken exactly 72 hours. It was the largest movement of people in galactic history, and somehow, they had done it without losing a single life. Engineer. Haewon Song walked up beside him. She was a small woman with quick hands and a brilliant mind. For the past 5 years, she had been secretly preparing for this day. The last transport just arrived, she reported. All 50 billion humans are accounted for. Every colony has been evacuated. Every outpost has been stripped clean. Admiral Lee nodded. And the ARC ships? All 100 are fully operational. Each one can support 500,000 people for 50 years. We have enough food, water, and air to last until our grandchildren are old. The ARC ships were Haiwan's greatest achievement. The galaxy had thought they were research stations. In reality, they were massive survival ships, built in secret over many years. When the time came to leave, the humans had been ready. Commander Yujin Nam appeared on the communication screen. She was coordinating the evacuation of the outer colonies. Her face was tired but determined. "Admiral, the Kepler colony is completely stripped. We took everything. The fusion reactors, the orbital factories, even the water recycling plants. Nothing useful was left behind." "What about the buildings?" Admiral Lee asked. "Gone. We broke them down into basic materials and loaded them onto cargo ships. When the aliens get there, they'll find empty dirt." This was happening everywhere. Humans weren't just leaving. They were taking everything with them. Entire cities had been taken apart piece by piece. Orbital stations had been disconnected and moved. Even the space elevators had been cut down and packed away. Dr. Boram Kang worked in the medical section of New Hope. She was a psychologist, and her job was to help people deal with the trauma of leaving their homes. The ship's medical bay was full of families trying to understand what had happened. A young girl named Su Jin sat on one of the medical beds. She had been born on Tau Ceti Prime and had never seen Earth. Now she was crying because she had to leave the only home she had ever known. "Where are we going?" Su Jin asked Dr. Kang. "Why can't we go home?" Dr. Kang knelt down beside the girl. "We're going to build a new home, a better home, one where no one can tell us to leave." "But I liked my old home. I had friends there. I had a pet rabbit." "Is your rabbit here with you?" Su Jin nodded. "Mama brought her in a special cage." "Then you haven't lost everything. You still have your family, your rabbit, and all the other humans. We're all together now. That's what makes a home, the people we love." Across the ship, similar conversations were happening. Families were struggling with the loss of their homes, but they were also excited about the unknown future ahead of them. Engineer Haewon Song worked in the main engineering section. She was designing something that had never been built before, a mobile civilization. The humans couldn't settle on planets anymore. They had to learn to live in space permanently. "The manufacturing platforms are online," reported her assistant Minho Park. "We can build anything we need. Ships, habitats, even new ARC ships." "Good. What about the recycling systems?" 100% efficient. We can turn any raw material into anything else. Asteroid rock can become computer chips. Ice can become anything from water to rocket fuel. This was the key to human survival. They had developed technology that could turn any raw material into anything they needed. As long as they could find asteroids and dead planets to mine, they would never run out of supplies. Captain Min Seo Jang led the scouting ships. Her job was to find resources in the empty space between galaxies. Most species would think this was impossible, but humans had learned to see opportunity where others saw only emptiness. "Admiral, we've found a dead system about 50 light-years from here," she reported. 6 planets, 3 asteroid belts, and no signs of life. Perfect for mining. "Any useful materials?" "All the heavy metals we need, plus rare earth elements. There's enough here to build 100 new ships." Admiral Lee smiled. "Take a mining fleet and strip it clean. Make sure we leave nothing behind." This was the human way now. They moved through space like a swarm, taking everything useful and leaving nothing for others to find. They were becoming something new, a civilization that owned nothing but could build everything. Dr. Boram Kang watched the children playing in the ship's recreation area. They had adapted to their new life faster than the adults. To them, this wasn't a tragedy. It was an adventure. Young Jin Woo Kim was building something with construction blocks. "Look, Dr. Kang, I'm building our new planet." "That's very good." "Jin Woo, what will you put on your planet?" "Everything. Schools and parks and ice cream shops and rocket landing pads." The boy's enthusiasm was infectious. Other children gathered around to help with his project. Soon they were all designing their dream world together. Dr. Kang realized something important was happening. The children weren't mourning their lost homes. They were imagining better ones. They were already thinking like true space dwellers, people who could make their home anywhere. Admiral Lee called a meeting of all ship captains. On the main screen, hundreds of faces appeared. the leaders of the great human exodus. People of Earth, he began. We have successfully left galactic space. Every human is safe, every piece of our civilization is preserved. But now we must decide what comes next. Captain Hyun-woo Kim spoke from the diplomatic ship. Admiral, the galaxy thinks we're beaten. They think we'll crawl back begging for mercy. Are they right? Admiral Lee asked. No, came the answer from hundreds of voices at once. Engineer Hae-won Song leaned forward. We have everything we need to build a new civilization, better than the old one. We're not bound by galactic laws anymore. We can build whatever we want. What about weapons? Asked Captain Min-seo Jang. The galaxy might try to hunt us down. Admiral Lee's expression grew cold. Let them try. We're not the same species that left galactic space 3 days ago. We're already changing, adapting, becoming something they won't expect. Commander Yoo-jin Nam nodded. Our ships are faster than theirs. Our technology is more advanced. Our people are more motivated. If they want to fight, they'll get one. But Dr. Bo-ram Kang raised a different point. What if we don't want to fight? What if we want to build something so amazing that they'll beg to join us? Admiral Lee considered this. Both options are possible. We'll be ready for war, but we'll build for peace. Let the galaxy judge us by our actions, not their fears. The meeting continued for hours. Plans were made for long-term survival, resource gathering, and technological development. The humans weren't just planning to survive. In exile, they were planning to thrive. As the fleet moved deeper into the void between galaxies, something remarkable happened. The humans began to change, not physically but mentally. The trauma of exile was transforming into determination. The pain of rejection was becoming the fuel for innovation. Engineer Hae-won Song worked 18 hours a day designing new technologies. Without galactic regulations limiting her research, she could experiment with ideas that had been forbidden before. Captain Min-seo Jang's scouts found resources everywhere they looked. Dead systems that the galaxy had ignored were treasure troves of materials waiting to be claimed. Dr. Bo-ram Kang noticed that depression was being replaced by excitement. People were starting to see their exile not as punishment, but as liberation. Admiral Lee stood again at the observation window. The fleet had grown larger as they built new ships from salvaged materials. In just 3 days, they had proven that humans didn't need the galaxy's permission to exist. Sir. Jin Ho Choi approached with a message pad. Long-range sensors are detecting ships following us, galactic patrol vessels. Admiral Lee wasn't worried. How many? 3 cruisers. They're maintaining their distance. They're watching us, making sure we really leave. Admiral Lee smiled. Let them watch. Soon they'll see what humans can do when we stop trying to fit in. In the depths of space, far from any star, the human fleet had found something the galaxy had never given them. Freedom. Freedom to build, to explore, to become whatever they wanted to be. The exile was complete, but it wasn't an ending. It was the beginning of something the galaxy had never seen before. A truly free human civilization, unbound by anyone's rules but their own. 2 years had passed since the Great Exodus. In the darkness between galaxies, something incredible had been built. Where once there had been only empty space, now there was a city. Chief Engineer Hae-won Song stood on the observation deck of Forge, looking out at her greatest creation. The massive structure stretched for hundreds of kilometers in every direction. It was part city, part factory, part fortress, home to 10 million humans and growing every day. The power core is running. At 98% efficiency, reported her assistant, Tae-min Lee. Dark matter collection is exceeding all projections. Hae-won smiled. Dark matter had been a mystery to most galactic species. Humans had figured out how to harvest it and turn it into unlimited energy. Without galactic regulations stopping their research, they had achieved in 2 years what the galaxy hadn't managed in 1,000. Forge was more than just a space station. It was a mobile civilization. The entire structure could move faster than light, taking its population anywhere in the universe. It was also a factory that could build anything the humans needed. Admiral Dongmin Lee, now called Fleet Admiral, walked through the command center. Through the windows he could see thousands of ships docked to forge. Construction ships, mining vessels, exploration craft, and yes, warships. Lots of warships. Report, he said to Commander Ji Woo Park, his chief of operations. All systems operational, sir. Population is now at 12 million and growing. We've established mining operations in 47 dead systems. Material reserves are at record levels. What about the exploration fleets? Captain Min Seo Zhang's teams have mapped everything within 500 light-years. We've found resources the galaxy doesn't even know exist. Admiral Lee nodded. In 2 years, humans had become masters of the galactic void. They had learned to live in empty space to find wealth in places others considered worthless. Captain Min Seo Zhang herself was currently on the outer rim of their territory. Her ship, Discovery, was studying a system of dead planets that contained something amazing. Crystals that could store massive amounts of energy. These crystals could power our ships for centuries, she reported to Forge. No other species has found them, because they only exist in systems with dead stars. Begin mining operations immediately, Admiral Lee responded. Send a construction team to build a permanent harvesting station. This was how humans had survived. While the galaxy lived on warm planets around living stars, humans had learned to thrive in the cold darkness. Dead systems were their treasure houses. Asteroid fields were their farms. The void itself was their home. Dr. Tae-Young Lim worked in the research section of Forge. He was pushing the boundaries of what was possible. Without galactic laws limiting his experiments, he had made discoveries that would change everything. The quantum communication array is ready, he announced to his team. We can now talk instantly with any human ship anywhere in the universe. His assistant, Dr. Sunmi Choi, looked amazed. How is that possible? Quantum communication was considered impossible by galactic science. Because they never tried hard enough, Dr. Lim said. They were content with slow old technology. We had to innovate or die. The quantum communicator was just one of dozens of breakthroughs. Humans had developed faster engines, better shields, smarter computers. They had even learned to build ships that could repair themselves. Young Sojin Kim, the girl who had cried when leaving her home planet, was now 8 years old. She had spent 2 years growing up on Forge, and she couldn't imagine living anywhere else. Teacher, why did the aliens make us leave? She asked during her history lesson. Teacher Yunhai Bei smiled gently. They were afraid of us, Sojin. They thought we were too different. But we're not scary, we're nice. Yes, we are. But sometimes being different is enough to make others afraid. Sojin thought about this. Are we still different? More than ever. But now that's a good thing. Being different made us strong. Sojin looked out the classroom window at the vast structure of Forge. Children who grew up here didn't think of planets as home. They thought of space itself as home. They were becoming something new, true children of the stars. In the engineering workshops, something amazing was being built. The humans had learned to create materials that didn't exist in nature. Metals stronger than diamond but lighter than air. Crystals that could bend light around them. Computers that could think and learn. Young engineer Wu Jin Nam was working on a new type of ship engine. If this works, we could cross the entire galaxy in a single day, he told his supervisor. How? She asked. By folding space itself. Instead of moving through space, we make space move around us. The supervisor looked at the plans. 2 years ago, this would have been pure fantasy. Now, with unlimited resources and no restrictions, on research it might actually be possible. Admiral Lee received a priority message from the outer sensors. Captain Subin Yoon's patrol ship had detected something interesting. Admiral, we're picking up galactic ships near the edge of our territory, Captain Yoon reported. They appear to be lost. Lost how? Their navigation systems failed. They've been drifting for weeks. Their crew is running out of supplies. Admiral Lee considered this. It would be easy to ignore the aliens and let them die. After all, they're Governments had exiled humanity, but that wasn't the human way. Rescue them, he ordered. Bring them to Forge. Sir, are you sure? They might report our location to the galaxy. Let them. It's time the galaxy learned what we've become. The rescue took place 3 hours later. Captain Yoon's ship approached the disabled alien vessel, carefully. It was a Florian exploration ship with 12 crew members aboard. When the Florians saw the human ship, they were amazed. It was unlike anything in the galactic fleet. Sleek, powerful, and obviously built with technology far beyond their own. This is Captain Subin Yoon of the Terran Star Navy, she announced. We're here to help. The Florian captain, of being called Petalwind, could barely speak. You're humans, but you were exiled. Yes, we were. But we don't leave people to die in space, even if their governments hate us. The Florians were brought aboard the human ship and given food, water, and medical care. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. The human ship was clean, efficient, and obviously very advanced. How did you build this? Petalwind asked Captain Yoon. This technology is impossible. Nothing is impossible if you try hard enough, Captain Yoon replied. Would you like to see our home? An hour later, the Florian ship was being towed toward Forge. When it came into view, the aliens fell silent. The massive structure was beyond anything they had imagined. It was bigger than most planets, but it moved through space like a living thing. By the great tree, whispered Petalwind. What is that? That's where humans live now, Captain Yoon said proudly. We call it Forge. It's our mobile capital. The Florians were given a tour of part of Forge. They saw the vast factories that could build anything, the farms that grew food without soil or sunlight, the schools where human children learned to build wonders. Dr. Tae-Young Lim met with the aliens to repair their ship. What should have taken weeks with galactic technology, he fixed in hours with human tools. Your power core was failing, he explained. I've replaced it with one of our fusion reactors. It should last for centuries. Petalwind stared at the small device. This tiny thing can power our entire ship? For about 500 years, yes. When the Florians were ready to leave, Admiral Lee met with them personally. He wanted them to take a message back to the galaxy. Tell your leaders what you've seen here, he said. Tell them that Exile didn't destroy us. It freed us. We're not the same species that left galactic space 2 years ago. What have you become? Petalwind asked. Admiral Lee smiled. Something new. Something the galaxy has never seen before. We're humans unleashed. The Florian ship departed with its crew, amazed and frightened. They had expected to find broken refugees hiding in the darkness. Instead, they had found a civilization more advanced than anything in the galaxy. As their ship jumped to faster-than-light speed, heading back to galactic space, Admiral Lee turned to his staff. Prepare our ships, he ordered. It's time to start expanding our territory. Engineer Hae-Won Song looked excited. Are we going back to the galaxy, sir? Eventually. But first we're going to build something so amazing that when we do return, they'll beg us to be their leaders. In the research labs, Dr. Tae-Young Lim was already working on the next breakthrough. In the factories, new ships were being built every day. In the schools, children were learning to think beyond any limitations the galaxy had ever imagined. The exile was supposed to be humanity's punishment. Instead, it had become their greatest gift. Free from galactic rules and regulations, they were becoming something magnificent. Forge turned slowly in the void, its lights blazing in the darkness. Around it, the human fleet grew larger every day. Soon, very soon, they would be ready to return to the galaxy. But when they did, they wouldn't be asking for permission to exist. They would be offering the galaxy a choice: evolve or be left behind. 5 years had passed since the exile. In the great crystal chambers of the Galactic Council on Nexus Prime, the aliens had almost forgotten about humanity. Trade routes had been rerouted around the old human territories. New species had moved into the empty colonies. Life had gone on. Counselor Zelt Prime reviewed the daily reports with satisfaction. The galaxy was peaceful. The dangerous humans were gone. Everything was exactly as it should be. Then the reports started coming in. First, it was just merchant ships. The cargo vessel Prophet's Dream had vanished near the galactic rim. No distress signal, no debris. It was simply gone. Pirates were blamed, though no one claimed responsibility. Then more ships disappeared. A passenger liner carrying 500 beings, a scientific research vessel, a military patrol, all gone without a trace. "This is becoming a serious problem," announced Counselor Tree Whisper of the Florians. 17 ships have vanished in the past month. "Pirates are getting bolder," suggested a Viridian counselor. "We should increase patrols." But the patrol, ships that were sent to investigate, also disappeared. Ambassador Wu Jin Park sat in a small cantina on a trading station near the galactic rim. He looked like just another human trader, one of the few who had chosen to stay in galactic space after the exile, but appearances were deceiving. Wu Jin was actually part of an extensive intelligence network, former human diplomats and traders who had chosen to remain behind as spies. They gathered information and sent it back to the human fleet through secret quantum communication channels. "The aliens are getting nervous," he reported to Fleet Admiral Lee. "They can't figure out what's happening to their ships." "Good," Admiral Lee responded from Forge. "Continue monitoring. Don't reveal yourselves yet." The disappearing ships weren't random accidents, they were carefully planned operations. Captain Subin Yoon commanded a new type of warship called Retribution. It was built with 5 years of unrestricted human innovation, and it was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. "Target acquired," reported her tactical officer, Lieutenant Kyung Ho Song. "Altarian cargo vessel, traveling alone." "Any escort ships?" "Negative. They're completely unprotected." Captain Yoon smiled. "Begin capture protocol." The Retribution was completely invisible to galactic sensors. Its stealth technology bent light and energy around the ship, making it impossible to detect. When it moved to intercept the alien cargo ship, it was like a ghost attacking the living. The cargo ship's crew never knew what hit them. One moment they were flying peacefully through space. The next, their engines were disabled and their communications were jammed. Boarding pods attached to their hull, and human Marines entered their ship. "Surrender, and you will not be harmed," announced Marine Commander Ji Hoon Bayek. His soldiers wore armor that looked like something from a nightmare. Black, sleek, and obviously advanced. The alien crew, 3 Altarians and 2 Viridians, offered no resistance. They had heard stories about human soldiers. Even before the exile, humans had been known as the best fighters in the galaxy. "What do you want?" asked the ship's captain, his silver skin pale with fear. "Information," Commander Beck replied. "And your cargo." The ship was carrying rare metals needed for computer chips, things the human fleet could use. But more importantly, it carried data about galactic trade routes, military positions, and political developments. "You're supposed to be exiled," the alien captain said. "You're not allowed in galactic space." "We're not in galactic space," Commander Bayek pointed out. "This is the Rim, empty territory that belongs to no one." After the cargo and data were transferred, the alien crew was given a choice. "You can return to your masters and tell them what happened, or you can join us." One of the Viridians, a young engineer named Quartz Song, stepped forward. "Join you? But we're enemies." "We don't have enemies," Commander Bayek said. "We have people who understand progress, and people who don't." "Which are you?" Quartz Song looked around at the human technology, so far ahead of anything her people had built. I want to understand." That was how humans recruited new crew members. Not through force, but through offering something better. The alien who joined them would be taken to Forge, shown the wonders of human civilization, and given a choice. Many chose to stay. In the council chambers, panic was starting to set in. The disappearances were increasing. Entire trade routes were being abandoned because ships were too afraid to travel them. "We need to do something," demanded Counselor Tree Whisper. "Our people are afraid to leave their home systems." "What can we do?" asked Zelt Prime. "We don't even know who's responsible." "Pirates," insisted a Viridian. It has to be pirates. But the evidence didn't support this. Pirates left wreckage. They demanded ransom. They bragged about their victories. These attackers left nothing behind. They took what they wanted and vanished like ghosts. Fleet Admiral Lee decided it was time to make a statement. He ordered Captain Su Bin-yoon to perform one final mission, one that would announce humanity's return to the galaxy. "Sir, are you sure about this?" Captain Yoon asked from the bridge of retribution. "Once we reveal ourselves, there's no going back." "There was no going back the moment they exiled us," Admiral Lee replied. "It's time they learned what they created." Retribution approached Nexus Prime itself, the capital of galactic civilization. The massive space station was protected by powerful shields and patrolled by hundreds of warships. It was considered the most secure location in the galaxy. Captain Yoon's ship slipped through their defenses like they weren't even there. Stealth technology made Retribution completely invisible. Advanced hacking systems disabled any sensors that might detect them. The ship moved through the heart of galactic security without triggering a single alarm. "Position achieved," reported Lieutenant Song. "We're directly above the council chambers." "Decloak," Captain Yoon ordered. Retribution appeared in the sky, above Nexus Prime like a dark star. It was massive, bristling with weapons, and obviously built with technology far beyond anything the galaxy possessed. Panic spread through the station as alarms began sounding. "Unknown vessel, you are in violation of galactic law," came a transmission from station security. "Identify yourself immediately." Commander Ji-hoon Baek opened a communication channel. His image appeared on every screen in the council chambers, where the alien leaders were meeting in emergency session. "Greetings, Galactic Council," he said calmly. "This is Commander Baek of the Terran Star Navy. We are no longer bound by your laws, your treaties, or your expectations." The council members stared in shock. The humans were supposed to be gone, hiding in exile somewhere in the void. Instead, here they were, hovering above the galaxy's capital in a ship that made their best warships look like toys. "You were exiled," Zelt Prime managed to say. "You have no right to be here." "You wanted us gone," Commander Baek replied. "We are gone, but the galaxy is vast and space belongs to those who can claim it." "What do you want?" demanded Tree Whisper. "Nothing from you. We just wanted you to know that we're here. Watching. Learning. Growing. The humans you exiled 5 years ago no longer exist. We are something new now." Captain Yoon studied the readings from the galactic fleet that was scrambling to respond to their presence. Dozens of warships were moving to intercept Retribution, but they were laughably slow and primitive. "Should we engage them, Captain?" asked Lieutenant Song. "No need," Captain Yoon replied. "They can't even see us when we don't want them to." Retribution simply vanished again. One moment it was there, the next it was gone. The galactic fleet spent hours searching for it, but their sensors found nothing. In the council chambers, the alien leaders sat in stunned silence. The ship had appeared and disappeared at will, completely ignoring their most advanced defenses. "How? Is this possible?" whispered a Viridian counselor. "Their technology was only slightly ahead of ours 5 years ago. 5 years of unlimited research," Zelt Prime said quietly. 5 years without our laws holding them back. 5 years to become whatever they wanted to be. Ambassador Woo Jin Park listened to the chaos in the cantina where he was hiding. Aliens were talking frantically about the human ship that had appeared over Nexus Prime. Fear was spreading through the galaxy like a plague. "They've grown stronger," one alien merchant was saying. "Much stronger. Maybe exiling them was a mistake." Woo Jin smiled and took another sip of his drink. Mistake was too small a word for what the galaxy had done. They had taken humanity's greatest strength, their ability to adapt and overcome, and given it unlimited freedom to grow. Reports started coming in from the Rim territories. Entire systems were going dark, not destroyed, just empty, as if someone was claiming them and cutting off all communication with the rest of the galaxy. "It's the humans," Tree Whisper said during another emergency council session. "They're expanding their territory into unclaimed space." Zelt Prime pointed. "Out." Technically, they're not breaking any laws. Because they're not bound by our laws anymore, a Viridian counselor said. They told us that themselves. The galaxy was facing something it had never encountered before, a human civilization that didn't care about galactic approval. They were taking what they wanted when they wanted it, and there seemed to be no way to stop them. On Forge, now grown to the size of a small moon, Admiral Lee reviewed the reports from across human space. 10 years had passed since the Exile. The galaxy had changed completely, though not in the way anyone had expected. Where once there had been one great galactic federation, now there were two powers competing for control of the stars. President Aicha Hong stood on the bridge of New Geneva, humanity's massive mobile capital. Through the transparent walls, she could see the Terran Federation fleet stretching out in all directions. Thousands of ships, each one more advanced than anything the old galaxy could build. Madam President, the Altarian delegation is requesting an emergency meeting, reported her aide, Captain Dal Ho Shin. They're offering a complete trade agreement and military alliance. President Hong smiled. The same Altarians who had voted for human exile were now begging for human protection. Tell them I'll consider their proposal after they formally apologize for their past actions. This scene was repeating itself across the galaxy. Species that had once thought humans were too dangerous now desperately wanted human help. The galaxy had become a much more dangerous place since humanity started expanding their territory. Admiral Su Bin Yoon commanded the Terran war fleet from her flagship Victory. Her ships patrolled human space with weapons and shields that made enemy vessels look like children's toys, but they rarely had to fight anymore. Most enemies surrendered as soon as they saw the human ships approaching. Admiral, we're receiving a distress call from the Florian colonies, reported her communications officer. They're under attack by the Zrak pirates. The same Florians who voted for our exile? Admiral Yoon asked. Yes, ma'am. Admiral Yoon considered. The Zrak were a violent species that had been raiding peaceful worlds for decades. The old galactic fleet had never been able to stop them. But human ships could. Set course for the Florian system. Maximum speed. Are we going to help them, Admiral? Yes. Not because they deserve it, but because protecting innocent people is what humans do. The human fleet arrived at the Florian colony just as the pirates were preparing to attack the planet. 50 Zrak warships surrounded the defenseless world, ready to begin their raid. Then the human ships appeared. Victory and her escort vessels dropped out of faster-than-light travel directly between the pirates and the planet. The Zrak ships immediately opened fire, their weapons blazing against the human shields. Nothing happened. The human shields absorbed the attack completely. The advanced defensive systems turned the enemy weapons into harmless light shows. This is Admiral Yoon of the Terran Federation, she announced on all frequencies. You have 30 seconds to surrender or withdraw. This is your only warning. The Zrak leader laughed. Stupid humans, we outnumber you 10-1. 29 seconds. Admiral Yoon replied calmly. The pirates continued their attack. Human ships moved through their weapons fire like ghosts, untouchable and unstoppable. When the 30 seconds were up, Admiral Yoon gave the order. Disable their weapons and engines. Leave their life support intact. The human counterattack lasted exactly 12 seconds. Precise energy beams struck every pirate ship simultaneously. Their weapons exploded. Their engines went dead. Their ships were left floating helplessly in space. This is impossible, the Zrak leader stammered. How did you do that? 10 years of unrestricted technological development, Admiral Yoon replied. Now you have a choice. Surrender and join our fleet as reformed citizens or drift in space until your air runs out. Most of the pirates chose to surrender. They had heard stories about the Terran Federation. Former criminals could earn citizenship through loyal service. It was a better life than piracy. On the planet below, the Florian colonists watched in amazement. The same humans their government had voted to exile had just saved their lives. The rescue had taken less than 15 minutes. Ambassador Da-Yun Kim materialized on the planet's surface through the new human teleportation technology. She was the Federation's chief negotiator, and she had an offer to make. People of Floria, she announced to the gathered colonists, the Terran Federation formally invites your world to join our alliance. We offer protection, advanced technology, and equal citizenship for all species. The Florian governor, a plant being called Root Singer, looked amazed. But our government voted for your exile. Why would you help us? Because that was your government's choice, not yours, Ambassador Kim replied. The Terran Federation judges people by their actions, not their leaders' mistakes. This was happening all across the galaxy. Individual worlds were leaving the old Galactic Federation to join the human alliance. The terms were simple: equality, freedom, and protection in exchange for loyalty. General Insu Ro led the Terran Liberation Forces. His job was to free enslaved populations and stop genocide wherever it occurred. His soldiers were equipped with armor and weapons that seemed like magic to other species. General, we've located the slave camps on Kepler 442, reported his intelligence officer, Major Sangwoo Yu. 3 million beings are being held there. Species? Mixed population, mostly refugees from the Outer Rim conflicts. General Ro studied the tactical display. The planet was defended by hired mercenaries using old galactic military equipment. Against human technology, they wouldn't stand a chance. Begin liberation protocol. I want every slave freed and every slaver captured for trial. The assault began at dawn. Human dropships descended through the planet's atmosphere like falling stars. The mercenaries tried to shoot them down, but their weapons couldn't penetrate the advanced shields. Human soldiers moved through the slave camps with surgical precision. The guards were disarmed and captured before they could harm any prisoners. The rescue operation took 4 hours and resulted in 0 civilian casualties. Among the freed slaves was a young Viridian named Crystal Heart. She had been captured 3 years ago when pirates raided her homeworld. Why did you save us? She asked General Ro. We're not human. We're not part of your federation. Because slavery is wrong, General Ro replied simply. Every intelligent being deserves freedom. Crystal Heart looked at the human soldiers helping feed and care for the rescued slaves. Your people are very different from what we were told. What were you told? That humans are violent and dangerous. General Ro smiled. We are dangerous. To slavers, pirates, and anyone who hurts innocent people. But we're not violent for the sake of violence. We fight to protect others. Dr. Kyung-ho Seo worked in the Advanced Technology Division aboard New Geneva. His team had developed medical treatments that could cure diseases thought incurable. Fusion, reactors that could power entire star systems. Terraforming equipment that could turn dead worlds into gardens. The latest breakthrough is ready for deployment, he reported to President Hong. We can now extend the natural lifespan of most galactic species by 300%. Any side effects? None detected. The treatment actually improves health and mental function. This was typical of human innovation. They didn't just make things work. They made them work better than anyone thought possible. The galaxy was learning that human friendship came with incredible benefits. In the old Galactic Council chambers, the remaining alien leaders met in emergency session. Their federation was falling apart. Every day, more worlds left to join the humans. We have to do something, insisted Counselor Tree Whisper. Half our members have already defected. What can we do? Zelt Prime asked hopelessly. Their technology is decades ahead of ours. Their military is unbeatable. Their society offers everything ours doesn't. We could surrender, suggested a Viridian counselor. Join their federation voluntarily. Never. Zelt Prime slammed his hand on the council table. We will not bow to the species we rightfully exiled. But even as he spoke, Zelt Prime knew it was hopeless. The Galactic Federation he had helped lead was dying. The humans had built something better to replace it. President A-Cha Hong received the final surrender on a Tuesday morning. The last holdout systems of the old Galactic Federation formally requested admission to the Terran Federation. It's over, announced Ambassador Da Yun Kim. The old galaxy is gone. We've won. No, President Hong corrected her. Everyone has won. We didn't conquer the galaxy. We offered it something better, and it chose to join us. The transformation was complete. The Terran Federation now included over 800 species and controlled 70% of known space. The remaining 30% was independent worlds that had chosen neutrality. But this wasn't an empire built on conquest. It was an alliance built on mutual benefit. Every species contributed their unique strengths. Every world was protected and prosperous. Fleet Admiral Dongmin Li, now in his 70s but still sharp, stood once again on the observation deck, a forge. The massive structure had grown even larger, now serving as the Federation's primary research and manufacturing center. Young Captain Min Junyu approached him with the daily reports. Sir, the Altarian High Command is requesting Federation membership. They're offering to formally apologize for the Exile vote. Admiral Li considered this. Zelt Prime himself was asking to join the people he had tried to destroy. Accept their application, he decided, but place them on probationary status for 5 years. They need to prove they've learned from their mistakes. And Counselor Zelt Prime specifically? Give him a position in our diplomatic corps. Let him spend his remaining years serving the Federation he tried to